you mentioned some of the fears had about letting go. Well, I was doing everything myself.
Yep.
And I thought that no one could do those things better than me. And that may be true, but all that does is limit me to what I'm able to get done. And I already said that was about 3 to 4 deals a month and 60, 70 hours a week. And that was not, I was ready to go back to my W-2 job because that's not what I was looking to do. Once you have the plan in place, I felt like that was kind of the secret sauce, the hiring. You're asking like, how do you let yourself go? How do you get out of that stuff? To me, the secret sauce is being willing to put the work on the front end to build those systems. Just the most basic stuff, I think, is the secret sauce to then finding great people.
What's up, y'all? Got an amazing guest with me, CarrotCamp alumni. He's got the water bottle to prove it there in front of him. Right there, y'all. But Rob and I, Rob Nickell, are going to introduce you guys to him here in a second. What his amazing company RocketStation does. We're a customer of RocketStation. A bunch of our customers are customers. We're not here to sell RocketStation. What we want to do, y'all, is talk about building a business that truly serves you, truly serves that dream that you've got for your business. And I've talked about my story a ton, you know, where I built a business, multiple businesses in the past that made some money and they did great, but they really trapped me. They in hindsight, I look back, I'm like, man, this wasn't what I wanted to build. And part of it was the stigma that I had around people, around building a team, around how do I get help? How do I delegate? How do I scale my time and energy and focus on the things that I love to do? And so during this episode, we're going to talk about that. How do you delegate well? How do you make sure to build a team of people that in a very not intimidating way to grow a business of your dreams, so you can focus on the things that give you energy, but also really make it so it's stable. So I'm going to welcome into the CarrotCast, Mr. Rob Nickell. Welcome on, man.
Trevor, appreciate you having me on. Obviously a big fan of the show and the things you do at Carrot. So this is awesome. Thanks a lot.
Dude, so I'm so pumped to have you on, and I don't know why, you know, this didn't happen way sooner. And y'all, if you guys are seeing any choppiness in the video or anything, there's something wiggy going on my end a little bit, but the audio is still coming through good. So bear with us. If you're watching the YouTube version of it, there might be a couple chops. But if you're listening to it on the Apple, you know, podcast side of things, you should be great. But like I said before, man, we're going to dig into this. Is we're going to talk about, you know, the things that both of us have experienced when building companies in the real estate market. You've done a bunch of house deals. You're an investor as well, but you've led into the business you've got now, which we'll talk about. And also as of the time we're recording this, the whole coronavirus thing is kind of like taking over the world as far as media wise, you know, as far as the media goes. And there were some things right before we hit record where we're like, oh man, we're so grateful for the ways that we've structured our businesses because we're not really being impacted as much of the way that many companies are. And they're built in a remote way, right? How do you spread out that team and make it so you can actually serve your clients better and build a tighter business? So before we dive in, man, why don't you tell people who you are? Where do you live? You got amazing Dallas back in the background. Where do you live? What is your business? And then we'll kind of dive into some of your backstory before we go into the other stuff.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I appreciate the intro. Yeah, I'm from Dallas, Robert Nickell, RocketStation.com. We are a virtual staffing provider, but we're really a two-trick pony. The first thing we do is systems and processes because most business operators and most real estate professionals are really good at real estate and they're really good at doing the day-to-day task and doing the things that it takes to get deals closed, but not great at the structure side, not great at systems and processes and detailed resources. So that's the first thing we like to help our client partners with is everybody goes through the same process you guys went through, which is getting structured and aligned on the outset. And hopefully you have those resources. And if you do, great. We just jump right into step 2, which is identifying the right people to fill roles within your business. So like you guys have admin, some people want inside sales, accounting and bookkeeping, just kind of depends on you and your business. But our mission is to enhance lives through better business. And that means a little bit different. So, you know, a little bit something different for everyone. But for us, we practice what we preach. Like you mentioned, we're a virtual team and we have a headquarters here in Dallas and there is a group of team members that work there. But we had a meeting yesterday and decided most people will be able to work from home and there'll be no issues at all. So super thankful and grateful to be able to build a business in 2020 because of technology and advancements, the things that are available. So you and I were talking about it offline, but yeah, I'm super thankful for technology and the resources that are available. Software companies like yours, staffing companies like mine allow for business owners to be able to build a business that doesn't have to stop no matter what chaos is going on. And it's pretty powerful.
Dude, I love it. And I want to dive into the process of building a team and removing yourself as an entrepreneur from those things that drag your energy down and making it so you can really build an asset and something that really wins you back more freedom and flexibility. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about how we've both gone in that direction, how investors and agents and other real estate professionals can too. But before we do, man, so you and I first connected. I'm trying to think of the first time that we did in person. Was it at CG? I can't remember if it was CG or.
Yeah, I remember you were. I was your whatever it called. Like you were the new guy, and I was kind of introducing you to everybody. I was your chauffeur for the week.
There we go. Yep. So it was at a mastermind. That's one of the big values, y'all, of getting in the room with smart people. And the more I dove in, it's funny. I had heard of Rob's service, his staffing service, or like a lot of people listening to this, they might go, what does that mean? Well, most people are going to say, hey, cool. If you need a VA, virtual assistant, like his company is the company that really powers most of the top real estate investors in the country. And they work with a lot of other real estate professionals and some non-real estate companies too. Like ours, we have VAs with them that are amazing, that do really important work for us. And I think there's a stigma. We'll dive into it a little bit too. There's a stigma that a lot of people have. I know I had it early on too. Of are you sacrificing quality by getting a quote unquote VA? And we'll talk about that. For us, the answer is absolutely no. We'll talk about kind of those pitfalls that you can fall into with going out there and finding VAs. But so after that, man, one of the things I was really pumped about, we've had a chance to connect in person several times since then. In Tampa, we had a chance to connect briefly. But then he came up to CarrotCamp this past, I think it was this past fall or maybe the spring one. And funny story. So Rob had just got a drone at that point. And we were up there in the mountains, mountain bike riding. And you were afraid for your life, like a period of mountain bike ride.
I was way more serious than I had anticipated. We go around the first curve, and there's a bridge that's really slick. So I slow down to just get around, and Trevor's just like doop doop doop, goes around. We get around corner 2. I can just see you over the hill, and you jump over this gap and land and keep moving. And I look back at Joey. And I'm like, we're supposed to do that? That's what we're here for? Is what Trevor's doing? Like, I was expecting a bike ride in the woods. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, that was awesome. It was a lot.
But dude, you made it. Some of the guys, and I'm not going to fault them or rag them for it, but some of them turned around midway, which is exactly what they should have done. Honestly, that's exactly what they should have done. So I champion their courage to do that and not feel any shame for that, which is amazing. And then you, me, and Tyler continued to trudge on. I was ready to turn around too, but Tyler's like, he's driving us. Tyler Ford was driving us.
He's unbelievable. What an athlete that guy is.
Oh, dude.
Was fun to follow you guys. That was a blast.
Dude, it was so pretty up there. And it was cool because you had the drone out. And guys, just picture this. We're up on the North Umpqua River. Beautiful day. Robert had his drone out and he put it up in the sky over the river. And he was getting some crazy, crazy cool footage. He had the drone kind of following us, walking down the trail. And then the water bottles, all the Carrot Campers got those are new water bottles at the time. He sets it on this stump right on the edge of this cliff, like 40, 50 foot cliff. I mean, we can slow motion see it tumble down into the river. Well, we got him a replacement though.
Yeah, I mean, so here's the deal. You're really nice. You immediately went to no big deal. I'll replace it. I was thinking I was going to die from not having water to be able to survive getting back home. So I was like, I appreciated you being nice and replacing the water bottle, but I was concerned about my health. I didn't know if I was going to make it. I needed every ounce of that water to survive. So
that's funny.
That was the plan with you and Tyler. I didn't know if I could keep up. So
I love it, dude. So I love it. So I'll wrap this part of it. But the reason I brought this up, y'all, number one, it's fun. It's fun connecting with you. And here's the thing, like, it's moments like that when we're connecting outside of the normal environment where you have to be more vulnerable, where you're pushing past those limits, like that's where you really get a chance to connect with people. And that's one of the reasons during CarrotCamp, we take people up in the mountains. We give people a choice. You're not required to go on a mountain bike ride. We always tell people it's not a beginner ride, And I think people don't take us seriously, but I need to be more clear. And then the other half, or the other 3/4, go on an amazing waterfall hike. So if you guys are looking at CarrotCamp, spots are open up. We're almost sold out for this next one, but carrotcamp.com. And you don't have to do that ride there. Go do the waterfall hike. It's amazing as well.
Okay, yeah. Okay, out of the entire group, only four of us did mountain biking. And during the mountain biking, I was thinking I chose wrong. Yeah, I was like, I should have gone to that. So the whole group, goes hiking, this beautiful leisurely hike. We get to the picnic, this beautiful spot, the river's flowing down. Just the trees could not be more picturesque. Oregon, postcard setting. We pull up. Joey and I think we're going to die. Tyler's like, he's not even tired. And everyone else is just sitting there like, kumbaya, like it's the most beautiful evening of all time. So yes, I think that the casual stroll through the woods up the river and the waterfalls and the Oregon beautifulness is probably what the average person should choose.
Exactly. I love it, man. Well, dude, let's transition a little bit. So to give context, before doing what you're doing now with RocketStation, you were a really active real estate investor. So well, why don't we kind of give context for why you ended up going into this route, building a company that helps other investors, agents, things like that, staff their businesses. What did your business look like before, and what pains were you running into that caused you to go, man, I need help?
Yeah, when I jumped into real estate, I had read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and that concept of passive income was just so appealing to me. So all the stuff about waking up at 4 a.m. and running on the treadmill and all the Facebook things you see about rise and grind and how cool it is to work 24/7. That wasn't what I was jumping in real estate for. I was jumping in real estate because I was hoping that at some point I could be a great husband. I could be a great father. I could be a great son, a great brother, because I could control my time and do what I wanted with the people that I wanted. I wanted to build a life that I envisioned that would give me a lot of rewards back from being around the right people and doing the things that I felt like were important. And so I jumped into real estate thinking that I was going to, build this life that was the dream that I had. And what it ended up being was me working 60, 70, 80 hours a week and doing all the things that I was making fun of people for, like, waking up at 4 a.m. and being the first one to the gym because I go to bed feeling guilty, not taking care of myself, not working out, not doing the things because I'm calling title companies back and sending corporate docs over, even though you send it over in the first time you send a contract, just all the day-to-day stuff, answering phones, trying to work my leads while I was meeting with sellers. And then I'd get back in my car and I'd have 4 or 5 missed calls, trying to call those people back, going to the next appointment, forgetting, as I'm driving neighborhoods, trying to find the comp sheets and just forgetting what's going on and writing all the notes. And I could do 3 or 4 deals a month. And I was busting my butt, Trevor, to do about 3 or 4 deals a month. And I woke up one day and I was like, what am I doing? There's no end to this. Like, the only end is just working harder and working more hours and hopefully doing more deals. And that just didn't seem to make sense. It didn't seem smart. And you look through the National Association of Realtor books and all the stats, and basically what it shows, you work more hours and you do more deals, and so you make more money. And I'm like, no thanks. So I went and visited my broker. He was my mentor, and he had a great life. He's not driving Ferraris and posting pictures of jets, but he was carrying his daughter's golf clubs at her golf tournaments, and he's out there building go-karts with his son in the garage all weekend long. And he's got a great house in a great neighborhood, and his kids are going to great schools. And he had the life that I thought that I knew that I wanted. But I was far from creating. So I just went and talked to him, sat down in his office, and he was like, hey man, we all have the same number of hours in the day. So I'm not going to listen to you complain, which was great, as all good mentors do. They give you the hard truth, right? Yep. And the next thing he said is, there's amazing resources out there. And he showed me how this was his retail business for his real estate business, but he showed how the entire business, from prospecting up front and his scheduling and calendar management, to putting together comp sheets, CMA packets, and running through all the data analysis in the MLS, to transaction coordination, working with the title companies, to disposition management. Every single step of the business was being done on a phone or computer, and he had teams in the Philippines doing all of the day-to-day, except meeting with sellers for listing appointments and showing buyers properties. But even the buyers, he had them so qualified, and the VAs had worked with them so much about looking at houses online and screening properties, that by the time he was showing them houses, it wasn't just a waste of time showing them random properties. So I looked at what he was doing, and I said, that's exactly what I do all day. I prospect, which is seller lead calls. I was sending direct mail and doing things to generate calls. I wish I had a Carrot site at the time in 2008. That would have been amazing, right? If I had started early enough and been an early adopter today, that'd be just amazing. But I was doing direct mail and bandit signs and all the caveman techniques of marketing to get the phone to ring. And so that was prospecting, and I was running comps, but instead of for you and your wife looking for a house, it was just myself and my numbers. And so it all just kind of clicked in that moment that I was working really, really hard, but I wasn't working very smart. And you mentioned some of the fears I had about letting go. Well, I was doing everything myself. And I thought that no one could do those things better than me. And that may be true, but all that does is limit me to what I'm able to get done. And I already said that was about 3 to 4 deals a month and 60, 70 hours a week. And that was not, I was ready to go back to my W-2 job, because that's not what I was looking to do. And so the first thing I did, I was just trying to think, what's the best use of my time? If I just spent the whole day doing one thing, and I knew that wasn't going to be possible, but I just thought, hey, if I could just do one thing all day long, what would that be? And for me, that was just meeting with sellers. If I could sit face to face at the kitchen table with a potential house seller, then that, for me, there was no better use of my time, because that was contract. So in order for me to sit in front of somebody during the day, I had to have somebody answering the phones. Because of those missed calls, going to voicemail, trying to get people back. It ends up being 5, 6 callbacks and missed calls and voicemails and text messages before you finally get somebody on the phone. And by then they've talked to 3 people. So the first thing I did was I hired somebody to work my leads. And I was nervous as heck, Trevor. I mean, I was so stinking nervous. What if they screw it up and do all the normal things about English proficiency and communication skills and education level? And are they going to be able to do a good job? All the things that you'd already mentioned. And so I went through a really robust interview process and freaked out forever and ever and ever, and had paralysis by analysis for forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. I wish I could just say, oh, I got excited about it and jumped right in and had a lot of success. But really, it was just me putting a ton of work in, over analyzing it up front, freaking out, putting somebody to answer my calls. And I was like, oh, this is great. And the truth of it, I know this is not the sexy answer, but the truth of it was, for that first person, for me, even if they screwed up a couple calls, I was still closing more transactions, because my time just went,
I got you.
So much more done. So then of course I wanted them to answer every call perfect, but I was then just able to train. His name was Dennis, my first VA on the phone. I was able to train him more and more. So ultimately he didn't screw up any calls, really. But even right at the beginning, I was able to do more, just because he gave me some of my time back, even screwing it up sometimes. And that's what gave me all the confidence in the world to move on. And I looked at running comps, and I was like, every time I do the same thing, the same process every single time, get the properties grouped up, and then I kind of scan through to figure it out. So it's mostly a science with a little bit of art to it. So I could at least delegate the science part, because I knew how to process that out. And it just snowballed to there. I got so sick of title companies calling me right during the day. And they're like, hey, Rob, can we have your articles of organization, your certificate of good standing? And I'm like, the contract that I sent you with the copy of the escrow check and a copy of the option check, it was in that same email. So I could like be irritated all the time with my
Yeah.
title company, who I love. They're nice people, and they'd send me little cute baskets on the holidays. And,
Mm-hmm.
it's great. I could be irritated with them all the time. Or I could just have somebody else kindly reply, here you go, here's the dogs. I hope you have a great, it just creates
Yep.
a totally different experience within my business.
Mm.
I now look super professional. I was no longer dropping the ball because I was the bottleneck, to be honest with you. Everything ran through me. So I was making a lot of promises during the day and dropping the ball. So by just having someone kind of roll through, and I started small, like I said, lead manager. And then I looked up, and about 80, 85% of my entire wholesale business was being done by teams in the Philippines. And I just started helping other people do that, giving my scripts away, all my process, my building buyers list, everything that I had end to end. I gave that away because nobody had that. Nobody just had they knew how to take a call, Trevor, but they didn't know what to say. They didn't know, oh, I say this, and here's the first words and the first line out of my mouth. And to teach somebody how to take those calls, it's easy to do in your head. And when you're in the shower thinking about it, you crush it, right? But then having somebody else come in, it's like, what do you have them say, and how do they say it? And you drive to work every day just feeling sick thinking about training somebody.
Yep.
No. Let me just give you all of that so we can then focus on getting the right person. If it's a lead manager, let's get a rock star communicator, somebody who's going to be great on the phone. If it's going to be a bookkeeper, that's a different person. We need to be slowed down a little bit. We need details. We need structure. We need right and wrong, right? Black and white. And those. So once you have the plan in place, I felt like that was kind of the secret sauce, the hiring. You're asking, like, how do you let yourself go? How do you get out of that stuff? To me, the secret sauce is being willing to put the work on the front end, to build those systems and processes, those structures, write everything down, have a shared place for usernames and passwords so we don't have to send a bunch of messages and figure out just the most basic stuff. I think is the secret sauce to then finding great people.
Dude, let's kind of dive into that a little bit, because number one, man, what you just said, the whole storyline of how you started, the pains you went through, but also how you started the transition, that's gold. Because what's going to happen is so many people are watching this or listening to this, and they're going to go, oh my gosh, I'm right there where Rob was at that point, or I'm right here. People are going to be at different levels during that process. And wherever you guys are on it, what happens is, we all have a vision of this business that we want to build, right? And hardly ever does that vision equal, like Rob was saying, hardly ever does it equal us grinding away for years. Hardly ever does that vision equal us trapping ourselves in our own business where we don't want to do the work anymore. Hardly ever does that vision equal working in the business for 3, 5, 7 years, and you just built yourself another job without any end in sight, how you get out of it. And so many wholesalers, flippers, agents, I find that that's actually the case. They've been in business for 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and you go to talk to them, they're like, man, the income that's coming in was like the exact goal that I had hoped to hit 3, 4, 5 years ago. I'm there. Why is it that I don't feel more fulfilled? Why is it that I still feel stressed every month and on the edge of my seat, whether this is going to all crumble tomorrow? And usually it's because of, like what you said, they don't have the right process, the right systems. They don't have other people plugged in to do those. So then you can focus on what you're best at, what gives you energy, what's actually going to keep growing your business. And I know for me, Rob, when I was kind of in that spot too, where I kept on hitting spots in my businesses, and Carrot was that thing early on too. I kept hitting spots in my businesses where I could never get it past a certain level, because I was always that bottleneck, like you'd mentioned, where it's like, oh man, why just can't I get it past here? And it was usually because I was in the way. I wasn't pulling back and documenting things and going, okay, I know it's going to take me 3 times longer to just pull back and record a video on how I do this, or pull up a Google Doc and type out how I do this, or script out how to say this, or whatever it is. It'll take me 3 times longer to do it this one time, but how many more hours and headache am I going to save in the future? It took that mindset shift to go from short-term thinking to long-term thinking. And that's the spot where people need to shift. And guys, you can never get to the spot where your business actually reaches your dream until you make that shift, and not just become okay with bringing people into your business, but make it to a spot to where it's an absolute necessity for you to go, okay, this isn't me doing it alone anymore. This is me focusing on what I'm best at. I can add the most value, and then I'm going to plug people and processes into the rest. Dude, so on the process side, you talked about documenting that stuff. If there's people listening to this and they're getting VAs, and after this, I want to talk about how to find a great VA in this case. Because I've gone the route where it's been nightmare stories. I've heard nightmare stories too. And I think that's what I hear from a lot of people. It's like, well, they want a VA. People tell them they need to get, someone in their business to help, but then they just don't know how to go about it and hear horror stories. So first of all, if someone's documenting stuff, are there certain tools or processes you guys suggest that they should just go, cool, this is how to document stuff, put it here, blah, so they can start to share it with people? What do you guys suggest?
Yeah, at the most basic level, to just screen record, you mentioned it. So the idea of documenting, and I'll say anybody who I'll send you some documents, Trevor, so anybody who's curious when we're talking about systems and scripting, and I'm happy to send some examples of real, like, for example, lead management process flow. We'll send some documentation over of actual systems of how lead management should go, and just to give people an idea. But to get to highly documented and step-by-step processes, that is usually pretty overwhelming for most people, because to go through that, it's a lot of work. And where we like to start, we think people, if you're going to do it on your own, you need to start with just recording what you're doing. And by doing that, you're going to go slow enough to really take the time to think about what you're actually doing. So many times we're just blowing through the task that we're doing. We never really even think about it just because we know it. So whether you're on a Mac, it's free to use QuickTime. I know PC has resources built in now where you can screen record. So creating training has never been easier. Dropbox, Google Drive, record what you're doing, upload it in there. You can even talk over, like if you're using, whether it's Zoom or QuickTime, you can talk over the videos and it can click where you're going through to explain why you're doing certain things. So that's at the most basic level, that's the easiest way to really do it. From there, we think there ought to be some real documentation about how those things are done. And the biggest advantage to that, to actually writing down step by step the way every single thing works, the biggest advantage is clarity. You really have transparency and understanding the way your business is really functioning, which allows you to see opportunities for efficiency. What I mean by that is once you have some clarity into the way everything, take a step back and see, hey, I'm doing 15 things at once all day long, and I don't realize while I'm doing that, there's 10 steps to each one. So to take a step back and actually document what you're doing, first that provides some clarity. Then you can say, wow, it really doesn't make sense for me to be doing certain tasks. And then it becomes a whole lot easier to see that path of what you should delegate. So everybody has a little bit different idea of what their best use of time is. And for those of us that have employees, the question I got asked the other day, and I thought it was a great question, was if you were forced to fire all of your employees today, how many of them would you enthusiastically rehire tomorrow?
Dude, that right there is so good. Oh man.
And I kind of thought about that for a second, and I'm like, not that long ago, a few years ago, I wouldn't have been that excited about very many of them. Today, I would be devastated to lose any of them, and thrilled to have them all back because we have the right people in the right place. And I think you share a similar sentiment about your teams and your VAs that are working for you. They're now just a part of your team.
They are.
Right. So I would love to hear. So you had quite a few fears going in, and I don't know, I don't want to overblow it, but just reservations and hesitations. Your customer journey experience for your people is such a priority for you, and the value that every person's going to receive from any interaction with your team and every communication that you guys do, and that from a product service standpoint, and you wanted to have 0% dip in quality. And if I'm perceiving it right, that was your big concern, is from providing value to your customer base. You wanted to provide the utmost service level possible. So, but tell me a little bit about your experience, and you're talking about finding the right person. We have a massive infrastructure. We screen over 4,000 applications a month. We background check, we resume screen, we do all the things that you would want someone to do, but you just probably don't do, or it's too much work, or you don't have the resource infrastructure in place. We're hiring less than 2% of people, and then they go on our training platform for 8 weeks. So by the time they talk to you, this is the best of the best, and it's only people that will fit those roles and
Yep.
those job descriptions. So for us, how do we find the right people? There is no simple answer. We try to put 4,000 to 6,000 applications a month through the pipeline, and then I have a big team, an HR and recruiting team, whose job is to identify the top cream of the cream, college educated rock stars that can come in and perform well. So that people like you who have all these hesitations can get the product that we think you deserve. I think you should be able to fulfill the way that you had envisioned. So you had lots of hesitation. I'd first love to know what you felt your reservations were, and then if we were able to solve some of those issues and those questions.
Oh, dude, 100%. That's a really good question. So almost every week we get questions from our customers about where to find VAs, like as an example, to help with Carrot stuff, right? Help with some of the setup stuff or the ongoing stuff, posting your content, uploading featured properties, or, optimizing video posts, stuff like that, right? And the route that most of them go is Upwork, because that's just kind of like, okay, cool. That's the place where you get VAs, right? That is quote unquote easy. And the problem that happens there, and we've hired people from Upwork before, usually for tasks, versus like plugging them into our business as a critical part of the business. And it's kind of hit and miss over there, right? Because you've got to go through the whole process of vetting them. You've got to do all that upfront work. And there's a lot of work that goes involved into finding the right people, typing up the descriptions in there, vetting dozens of them, running them through test projects. And then it comes down to the last few that, like, okay, these ones are pretty good, but you put hours and hours up front. And so that was our picture before, was okay, that's probably what it's going to be like if we're going to be doing that with RocketStation or whatever. And so here's the pain point for us. And some people are going, okay, cool. Why did you choose the VA route with some of this versus just hiring another US based employee? Well, going into Carrot, that was one of my things. Like, we are building a US based company. It's remote. We have a third of our staff here in Roseburg, Oregon at our headquarters. The rest of it's scattered throughout the US, which is amazing because now we have people on the East Coast, which they're operating a slightly different time zone. People on the West Coast. We have people in the Midwest, people down there in Dallas, Texas. And so you can now hit all these different time zones, which makes you have a more flexible support schedule, more flexible ability to help people depending on wherever they're at in North America. And that was one thing that we're like, man, we're like hard and set, US based, right, waving the US flag and all that stuff. What we started to have happen in our business was we were needing more time out of the traditional work hours. And that was really important to us, where it's like, okay, we also need people who aren't just during the 8 to 5 during these 3 time zones in North America. Number two, there were certain parts of our company where we just didn't have it in budget to be able to hire full-time salaried benefit-based employees, but we also wanted to add more ability to scale our service with our customers, right? So we had this gap where we said, okay, budget, like we have a part where we want to up level it even more, but budget for that part of the company isn't there to hire a full-time person with benefits, salaries, all that stuff. And so we went into it, Rob, saying, okay, we're going to get a VA and put them like way back in the back corners, the recesses of the company, like doing kind of grunt work, right? And this is the way that the process worked for us, guys. The biggest bottleneck we have on hiring here at Carrot is on the initial parts of it, right? In the job description, getting all the applications, filtering through all those applications through multiple steps. We have a 4-step hiring process. And then finally you get 2 or 3 applicants that you actually have the interviews with and make a decision. What RocketStation did, we plugged into them. We basically had a call, like an intake type of call. Hey, here's what you're looking for. Here's the skill sets, all this stuff. And then you guys go away, write all the job descriptions, do all the marketing because you know where to find the great people. You guys then collect all those tons of applications for our job position. You guys filter them through. You guys do interviews with them. And then you come back to us, whatever it was, a couple weeks later and say, hey, we've got 3 amazing candidates here for you. Why don't you guys now interview them? That was the cool thing because that was important to us. We want to have people that matched our culture. We didn't just want to have a VA that was just any old VA that could do stuff. And so Danny on our team, on our services team, then had a chance to interview those 3 people. And she's like, James is amazing. He's an amazing energy, great culture match. We hire for culture first, and he's great at this stuff. And we've been working with him for, I think, about a year. And we're now going, he's so great over here, speaks perfect English, has great energy. And we're starting to cross-train him over on to support. We're like, why should we have a VA just kind of tucked back here? And is it American to only have people working in America, or is it American to give people opportunity no matter where you live, right? And so we started to shift our mindset around that. So we hired another, I don't really like calling him VA. We hired another team member from.
That's why we're saying virtual staffing now. And
Yep.
you guys epitomize that. Danny's done such an amazing job of bringing your team in. We've provided you guys with some great resources. I'm very proud of what we've been able to produce. But the reason it's worked is because Danny and your team's involvement and willingness to integrate them as a true team member and not just think of them as a computer in the back of the room. And because of that, they're able to function for you at a high level. And when you look at your business and you say, the best experience for my customer looks like, oftentimes there's not enough room in the budget to create an amazing experience or the experience we think our customers deserve, because the cost of human labor in the US is just so high. And then when you look at what you get at comparable rates, in the US, an average wage for admin on the low end stuff is $15 an hour, but if that's W-2, that's into $22 all in. And you look at the quality of what you're getting, depending on where you are, are you really adding value to your business? Right. So it's right. You talk about people being people and opportunities. So if you're looking at your business and saying, hey, what's best for my clients, what is in their best interest is for me to be able to create a great experience. I mean, that's why it's been so fun to work with you guys. Danny's been amazing. And then your theme, your mission of enhancing the experience for everyone who's a part of your user base. I mean, it's been a lot of fun.
Dude, and there's a few things. So I'll give some advice for people. If you guys are looking to add virtual staffing, one of them, and I talked with Max Maxwell about this years ago, was essentially treating them not like a VA and not like, hey, this thing way back in the background to do the dirty work, but treating them like a real person on your team. So with James, end of the year, we had Christmas and stuff, but then also all of our employees, when you come aboard Carrot, you get a big old swag box. You get the t-shirt and you get the books that we read and you get the stuff and get the carrots. And originally we were like, oh, he's a VA, because he's not like on our staff, he's on your staff. And so you guys kind of play that buffer between the staff, that James in that case, and in our team, where you guys still have managers there that train them and they're accountable to reporting to them. And you guys help with all that we don't have to worry about and make our life easier. But here's the deal. We're like, no, that's not like, he is a part of our team. He shows up, he's in our Slack. He shows up on our team calls. He gets the swag box and he's so grateful that it took like 2 weeks to get there, but he got the t-shirt and the carrot buds and all that kind of stuff. Come like end of the year, we were looking at giving the bonuses and stuff. We're like, shoot, that would kind of suck if James doesn't get a bonus. So we gave him a bonus and he was like really, really grateful for it. We hit you guys up like, how do we do this? Do we like Western Union him a bonus and you guys like, no, just connect with us. We'll give him the bonus and we'll just take it out of your guys' pay. I'm like, sweet. That made it even easier. So what I'd advocate for y'all is this. Number one, look at that journey that Robert had through his real estate business. Whether you're an agent or an investor, your journey is likely similar. And look at the dream and the vision you have for your business and find out and match it up and go, what does my reality look like today? What does my vision and dream look like? And what's the delta? What's the gap? Usually the gap is you working on stuff that you shouldn't be working on. You working on stuff that's making you busy and not adding happiness and fulfillment and even more bottom line. And then go, what processes need to be put in place? Now, who can do those processes for me? And if you're wanting a real partner and you're wanting to not have to deal with all of the management, all of the everything that goes with an Upwork VA or going to try to find one yourself in the Philippines, RocketStation is like who we recommend. I don't make any money by sending you guys there. We want people who are amazing that are going to help people execute Carrot better. And that's what we care about. Like, I'm just going to be transparent with y'all. We make more money when people are successful with Carrot. And if the tech part of it or digging in and doing the work is part of that and it's beyond what our support team can do, then that's where possibly getting some help from a part-time or full-time virtual staff member could really help you guys. So Rob, we'll wrap this puppy up. I could talk about this for hours, but where can people find, like, do you guys have any resources online that they can learn from? Where can people find more out about you guys?
Yeah, so rocketstation.com is some general information. But for those of you, anybody who's honest and sincere about the idea of virtual assistants or having stronger systems and processes. The best, I mentioned I'd send resources to anybody. I'm happy to send scripts, happy to send some great resources out. But the best thing I could offer, in my opinion, the most valuable thing I could offer anyone is spending a little bit of time with our business development team. You talked about that intake call in 20 to 30 minutes. And I think you can be, testament to this is that in 20, 30 minutes, we can really give you a lot of information, deep dive into your business, answer a lot of questions, and really paint a picture for you of exactly what it would look like to have some of these things taken off your plate in the day-to-day, what it would look like to get some of your time back. So the question, usually people hear and say, hey man, totally makes sense, but not really sure how it would apply to me specifically. That's a totally reasonable thought. Email Greg Brooks, Brooks, at RocketStation.com. Greg runs our development team. He's amazing. I think he works with Danny, and you guys have had a good relationship there. So Greg Brooks at RocketStation.com. He'll be happy to spend some time with anybody. We don't care if you hire our teams or not. If you're honest and sincere about this process and about getting some help, then we're happy to spend some time with you and share whatever resources we have. So email Greg Brooks at RocketStation.com.
I love it, man. So guys, go to RocketStation.com, and I will give you one last little piece of advice here. With staff, you get what you pay for. We've gone the route where the $7 an hour, $6, whatever, like the really, really cheap, not $7, like the $1 or $2 an hour VAs. I can tell you get what you pay for. You're gonna put so much more time and energy into trying to manage that person that it's actually way more expensive. And so work with RocketStation. They're our recommendation. And we can do all kinds of stuff. Like I said, they can do some of the Carrot stuff. They can do all the stuff Robert mentioned that they're doing for him. So y'all, Rob, first of all, thank you for hopping on the CarrotCast. We need to bring you back and dive in more detail into this stuff and sharing your story. And everybody listening to this, go over to RocketStation.com, check it out. And we'll do this. Let's connect with you after this. And maybe create a resource together that people can go to and learn how to better staff their business that we can collaborate on. It'd be cool. Awesome.
Thanks,
well, guys, dude, thank you, man. Guys, give this a rating and review if you enjoyed this episode. And also hit the subscribe button. You get the first access to all episodes of the CarrotCast on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever else you listen to this when they come out when you're a subscriber. So if you enjoyed this, leave us a rating review. It's a fuel that fuels the energy that fuels this podcast. We'd love to read them all. Thank you guys. Have an amazing rest of the week.